Hello and welcome. Today we're diving into a famous story you've probably heard, that when the Muslims conquered Alexandria in the year 641, Caliph Umar ordered the destruction of the legendary Library of Alexandria. The story usually goes like this. When the Muslim commander Amr ibn al-As captured the city, he was told about the library's vast collection of scrolls. He wrote to Caliph Umar for instructions, and Umar supposedly replied, "As for the books you mentioned, if there is in them what complies with the Book of God, the Quran, then it is already there and is not needed. And if what is in these books contradicts the Book of God, then again, there is no need for it. Hence, you can proceed to destroy them." So, is this story true that Islamophobes use all the time? The story is not true. It's a myth that entered circulation centuries later. Let's break down why and how. The sources of the story. The earliest people to tell this story are Abdullah ibn al-Latif, Ali ibn Yusuf al-Qifti, and Gregory Bar Hebraeus. All of them were writing in the 13th century, more than 500 years after the conquest of Egypt. Later, Ibn Khaldun repeated a similar tale in the 14th century, though he moved the story from Alexandria to a Persian library. The key problem is this. None of these writers lived anywhere near the time of the conquest. There's no reliable chain of narration, no eyewitness account, and no mention of this supposed event for almost 600 years after it allegedly happened. Even Christian writers who strongly criticize Muslims, like Patriarch Eutychius of Alexandria in the 10th century, or the Coptic historian John of Nicaea in the 7th century, say nothing about the destruction of the library. John of Nicaea is especially important. He lived close to the conquest, he was openly critical of Muslims, and he had no issue attacking them in his writings. If this event had occurred, there's no way he would have stayed silent. Who was Yahya al-Nahwi? Some versions of the story mention a man named Yahya al-Nahwi, also known as John the Grammarian. According to Ibn al-Latif, he was the one who supposedly told Caliph Umar about the books. But here's the issue. Muslim historians themselves were confused about his identity. The leading candidates are John Philoponus, who died in 570 CE, and Johannes Grammaticus, who also died around that time. Both men died decades before Islam even began, let alone the conquest of Egypt. So this part of the story collapses as well. Historians on the myth. You don't have to take my word for it. Historians have been rejecting this tale for centuries. In the 18th century, Edward Gibbon questioned the entire story, noting that the library had already been in decline for centuries. Modern historians like Bernard Lewis, Bertrand Russell, Alfred J. Butler, and Mustafa al-Abadi have also denied its authenticity. So where did this myth come from? Some scholars theorize it emerging during the time of Saladin in the 12th century. When he dissolved the Fatimid Caliphate in Cairo, he sold off many of their libraries, collections that included Shia-leaning works. The story of Umar and the library may have been invented later as a way to justify that destruction. The Library of Alexandria's real decline. So what actually happened to the Library of Alexandria? The truth is, the great library, as we imagine it, a single vast building with every book in the world, probably didn't exist by the time of the Arab conquest. The library was originally founded in the 3rd century BCE, attached to the Temple of the Muses, the museum. But by the 1st century BCE, Alexandria was rocked by civil wars and unrest, and the library declined. When Julius Caesar set fire to ships in the harbor during a battle, the fire spread and damaged parts of the city, possibly including the library. But by then, it was already in decline. Another important collection was located at the Serapeum, a temple to the god Serapis. In 391 CE, Christians destroyed the Serapeum during religious conflicts. Sources describe the destruction of the temple, but they don't mention books. By late antiquity, the Grand Library of Legend no longer existed. So by the time Muslims entered Alexandria in 641, there was simply no great library left to burn.